The air in the lobby of the Grand Excelsior Hotel seemed to vibrate with a silent electricity, a mixture of understated luxury and the palpable tension of the major negotiations that frequently took place there. Polished marble reflected the soft light from crystal chandeliers, while executives in impeccable suits circulated with leather briefcases, their conversations muffled by the constant murmur of the environment. It was in this setting of power and opulence that the story was about to take an unexpected turn, one of those moments that freeze time and redefine everything. At the center of it all, unknowingly, was Anna Silva, a junior assistant in the international marketing department of Omnicorp, a discreet young woman almost invisible in the corporate machinery, known for her quiet efficiency and for never, ever drawing unnecessary attention. Anna stood there near a marble column, nervously checking her tablet. Her task was simple, almost mundane: ensure the conference room on the upper floor was ready for the crucial meeting that would define the future of a multi-million-dollar partnership with a Chinese conglomerate, Tianlong Enterprises. Her direct boss, the marketing director, had delegated the task to her with his usual nonchalance, never imagining the earthquake about to happen. Anna, as always, focused on the details. Projector working, water and coffee available, notepads, and pens aligned with military precision. She felt the weight of responsibility, a small anxiety gnawing at her stomach. Any mistake, however small, could have consequences, but what was coming transcended any logistical failure she might fear. Across the lobby, near the smoked glass revolving door, stood Richard Sterling, the CEO of Omnicorp. An imposing figure with impeccably slicked-back grey hair, a charcoal grey suit that seemed molded to his body, and a cold, calculating gaze that intimidated even the most experienced negotiators. Sterling was the personification of corporate power, a man who had built an empire with an iron fist and a reputation for being ruthless. He was there, talking briefly with his head of security, a burly man with a stern look, while awaiting the arrival of the Chinese delegation. For Sterling, this meeting was more than just business. It was the consolidation of his legacy, the final proof of his strategic vision. Tianlong Enterprises was the key to the Asian market, a coveted prize he had pursued for years. Nothing, absolutely nothing could go wrong. Anna finished her mental checklist. Everything seemed in order. She took a deep breath, trying to calm her nerves. It was then that her personal mobile phone, a simple, functional model, began to ring. The ringtone was discreet, but in the tense silence that seemed to have momentarily settled over the lobby, it seemed to echo. Anna frowned. Who would be calling her at this hour, knowing she was on duty for an important task? She hesitated for a moment, corporate protocol screaming at her to ignore it. But something about the insistence of the ring, perhaps an intuition, made her reach into her skirt pocket. She looked at the screen. Unknown number, international area code. Strange. Normally, she wouldn't answer, but on that day, at that precise moment, something compelled her. Perhaps it was the accumulated pressure, the feeling that something bigger was at stake. Sliding her finger across the screen, she brought the phone to her ear, still maintaining the discreet posture of someone not wanting to disturb. "Hello?" she said in English, her voice low and professional, adapting from the original Portuguese context for the English script. The response from the other end, however, came neither in English, the lingua franca of the business world dominating that lobby, nor in Portuguese. It came in a rapid, urgent flow of Mandarin. Anna, who had spent years secretly studying the language, driven by a personal interest she kept fiercely private, understood immediately. The voice on the other end was laden with panic and urgency. Without a second thought, her demeanor changed. The discreet assistant vanished, replaced by someone with unexpected authority. Her response flowed naturally in the same fluent and precise Mandarin as the caller. 是的，请说，我听着你。发生什么事了？是的，请说，我听着呢。发生什么事了？Yes, please speak, I'm listening. What happened? Her voice, though still controlled, now had a different timbre, a clarity and firmness that no one at Omnicorp would ever associate with the timid Anna Silva. Across the lobby, the change did not go unnoticed. Richard Sterling, who had momentarily glanced towards the assistant upon hearing the phone ring, was now completely still. His eyes, previously cold and calculating, were wide, fixed on Anna. The conversation with his head of security died on his lips. The blood seemed to drain from his face, leaving him pale beneath his artificial tan. He didn't understand a word Anna was saying, but the fluency, the naturalness with which she spoke Mandarin was unmistakable and shocking. Sterling knew all the key players on his negotiation team. He knew who spoke which languages. He had professional translators hired. Specifically for this meeting, his junior marketing assistant, the girl barely noticeable in the hallways, not only spoke Mandarin, but did so with a proficiency that sounded native. How was this possible? Why didn't he know this? What else did he not know about his own team, about the people working under his command? Anna's phone conversation continued, now more intense. She gestured discreetly with her free hand, her brow furrowed in concentration. Her tone was sometimes soothing, sometimes questioning. It was clear she was dealing with a complex situation, perhaps a crisis, and she was doing it in the language of the partners Sterling so desperately needed to impress and win over. The CEO felt a chill run down his spine. It wasn't fear, it was something deeper. The sudden, disconcerting realization of his own ignorance, his vulnerability. Here he was, the almighty Richard Sterling, about to enter the negotiation of his life, and one of his most junior employees possessed a crucial skill, a key to communication with his future partners that he was completely unaware of. The image of absolute control he projected seemed to crack, right there, in the middle of the opulent lobby. He was frozen, not just by the shock of the discovery, but by the frightening implication of what it meant. Who really was Anna Silva? And what on earth was happening on that phone call in Chinese that had the power to paralyze the most powerful man in the room? Sterling's mind began racing, moving past the initial shock. This girl, this Anna, she wasn't just an assistant. Speaking Mandarin at this level wasn't a casual hobby picked up in a couple of night classes. This required years of dedication, immersion. Why had she kept it a secret? Was she some kind of mole, an industrial spy? Paranoia began to creep in, a cold sensation contrasting with his physical stillness. He glanced at his head of security, who was also watching Anna with a confused expression, clearly caught off guard. Sterling made an almost imperceptible nod, a signal for the security chief to stay alert, to watch Anna's every move. Meanwhile, Anna continued the conversation, oblivious to the silent drama unfolding around her. Her concentration was entirely focused on the voice on the other end of the line. From what Sterling could gather from her body language, the way she occasionally glanced towards the hotel entrance, the growing urgency in her tone, the call seemed related to the Chinese delegation that was about to arrive. Were they in trouble? Was there a problem with their arrival? The possibility of the meeting being delayed or cancelled tightened a knot in Sterling's stomach. Years of planning could go down the drain because of an unknown incident communicated in Mandarin to a junior assistant. The irony of the situation was almost palpable. He, Richard Sterling, with his entire team of experts, translators and protocols, was completely in the dark, dependent on the ability of an employee he barely knew to decipher and possibly resolve a critical issue. His imposing posture began to waver slightly. Rigidity gave way to nervous tension. He ran a hand over his silk tie, an unconscious gesture of discomfort. Control, his trademark, was slipping through his fingers. Finally, Anna seemed to reach a conclusion in the call. She spoke a few final sentences in Mandarin, her tone resolute and reassuring. Then she listened for a few more seconds and hung up. She put the phone back in her pocket, took a deep breath, and for the first time since answering the call, looked up and scanned the lobby. Her eyes met Sterling's. For a moment, time truly seemed to stop. Her gaze wasn't that of the timid, subservient assistant he knew. There was a new depth there, a surprising calm mixed with restrained urgency. She saw the shocked expression on the CEO's face, the confusion in the security chief's eyes. She immediately understood the impact her conversation had made. A faint blush rose to her cheeks, not from embarrassment, but from the sudden awareness of her exposed position. Ignoring protocol, ignoring the hierarchy that would normally keep her at a respectful distance, Anna walked towards Sterling. Each step she took on the polished marble seemed to echo in the tense silence that now enveloped the small group. The CEO remained motionless, fascinated and apprehensive, watching the approach of the woman who, minutes earlier, was just an insignificant cog in his vast corporate machine. When Anna stopped a few feet away, she gave a slight bow, a gesture of respect that seemed almost incongruous with the authority her Mandarin voice had projected. Then she spoke, this time in perfect English, her voice clear and firm, though still respectful. "Mr. Sterling, I apologize for the interruption and for taking a personal call while on duty. However, the situation was urgent." She paused, choosing her words carefully. That was Mr. Chen's personal assistant, the leader of the Qianlong Enterprises delegation. There was a small incident with their transport from the airport. Nothing serious, but they were stuck in traffic due to an unexpected accident ahead and were having difficulty communicating the situation to the hotel driver, who doesn't speak Mandarin. They were concerned about being late for the meeting. Sterling remained silent, absorbing the information. Relief that it wasn't catastrophic mingled with persistent astonishment. "And," he began, his voice slightly hoarse, "did you manage to resolve the situation?" Anna nodded. "Yes, sir. I explained the situation to Mr. Chen's assistant, reassured him that we would understand the delay and that their safety was the priority. Then I asked him to pass the phone to the driver. I gave him directions in English for an alternative route I know, which should allow them to avoid the main congestion. I estimated they will arrive within 20 to 30 minutes, instead of the hour or more they might have taken if stuck in traffic." The clarity, efficiency, and initiative Anna displayed were disconcerting. She had not only understood the problem, but had acted decisively, using her language skills and local knowledge to resolve a situation that could have soured the start of a crucial negotiation. All this, while he, the CEO, had stood frozen in shock and ignorance. Sterling felt a complex mix of emotions, reluctant admiration, irritation at the surprise, and a pang of shame for his own lack of preparedness for the unexpected. But above all, he saw an opportunity. This girl, this Anna Silva, was much more than she appeared. She was a valuable asset he had almost overlooked. "Miss Silva," he said, his voice regaining its usual firmness, though the tone was different, less cold, more inquisitive. "Your fluency in Mandarin is impressive. Why wasn't this information in your file? Why did you never mention this skill?" Anna lowered her gaze slightly, a remnant of her former shyness surfacing. "Sir, with all due respect, it never seemed relevant to my duties as a junior marketing assistant. I learned Mandarin out of personal interest during university and continued practicing. I never thought it was a necessary or valued skill for my current position. I didn't want to seem presumptuous." Presumptuous? Sterling almost laughed at the irony. Here she was, solving a miniature diplomatic crisis, and her concern was appearing presumptuous. He realized that the corporate culture he himself had fostered, one of rigid hierarchy and strict focus on designated roles, might be stifling unexpected talents like Anna's. Perhaps it was time to rethink a few things. "Well, Miss Silver," Sterling said, a hint of a smile forming on his lips, a rare sight. "It seems your skill is not only relevant but potentially invaluable today. I appreciate your initiative and your discretion. However," his gaze turned serious again, "I want you to accompany me to the meeting. Stay close. Our translators are excellent, but having someone from our team with your fluency could be an unexpected advantage. Consider this a direct order." Anna's eyes widened slightly, caught off guard by the command. "Attend the CEO's meeting?" Her, a junior assistant? It was unthinkable, but Sterling's tone left no room for argument. "Yes, sir." "Of course, Mr. Sterling," she replied, her voice steady despite the inner turmoil. As Anna composed herself, Sterling turned to his head of security. "Ensure Miss Silver has access to the meeting room, and find her a discreet seat, but where she can hear everything clearly." The security chief nodded, his gaze on Anna now mixed with newfound respect. The incident in the lobby, that frozen moment when Anna answered the phone in Chinese, had changed everything. For Sterling, it was an abrupt awakening to the reality that talent can come from the most unexpected sources, and that true control lies not in knowing everything, but in recognizing and utilizing the resources around you. For Anna, it was the moment her discreet, planned life was turned upside down, thrusting her onto center stage in a way she had never imagined or desired. The future of the negotiation with Tianlong Enterprises was still uncertain, but one thing was clear: the dynamic had just shifted, and the key to that shift lay with the junior assistant who spoke Mandarin. What would happen next in that meeting room? How would Anna's unexpected presence influence the negotiations? Could Sterling close the deal of a lifetime, now with a secret linguistic weapon by his side? And Anna, how would she handle this sudden elevation and the pressure of being at the heart of a high-stakes international negotiation? The story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. The hotel lobby had merely been the stage for the first act, an act triggered by a simple phone call and an unexpected language. This unexpected twist shows how hidden talent can emerge in the most surprising circumstances and completely change the game. Have you ever witnessed or experienced a situation where someone's unexpected skill proved crucial at a critical moment? Share your story in the comments below. We want to hear how these moments can redefine paths and expose the hidden potential within the people around us. And if this story has intrigued you, imagine what's still to come. Keep following to find out how Anna and Sterling navigated the turbulent waters of this negotiation and what other surprises fate had in store for them.